Imagine if we had an art appreciation class for all the builders, all the developers in Goa.
I think that is
How
much
much
required.
would you think
Seriously.
it would change? It'd be crazy, right? It'd be amazing.
Because we need a more aesthetic
Absolutely.
place to live in.
I love that word.
Yes.
And people hate
You
me when
know,
I keep
I
on
hate
telling
seeing
this
ugly
to
buildings.
builders.
Welcome to Susegaad Musings, the brand new talk show that's all about the sun-kissed, beautiful state of Goa. Co-hosted by Amit, Chopra and myself, Ryan Lobo, we talk about the real Goa by speaking to people who call Goa their home.
I think Goa draws people that have finally realized that their life is too precious to hide behind a mask, to run a rat race. They just come here to exhale and, to come into themselves.
The 10th episode of Susegaad Musings features two guests, both from the art world, Miriam Koshy and Samira Sheth. Miriam is a gallerist, an activist and artist, a dynamic personality who shares her passion for the preservation of Goa's natural beauty through her art and activism. Samira Sheth is an art curator, art writer and consultant. She shares about her move to Goa and insights into the world of art and curation. We prefer to have Miriam and Samira share about it like only they can. So let's get straight into this episode of Susegaad Musings. So welcome to this new episode. We got two amazing artists over here. You are a gallerist, an artist, an activist, and Samira, you are a independent curator and a writer. Thank you for coming on our show. Amit, we've got two lovely ladies, and Samira, I believe you've been in Goa for about 12 years now?
Yes, I moved here 12 years ago with my family because my husband was working here and setting up a business. And we moved from Dubai, and I always felt if I had to move anywhere in India, it would be Goa.
Lovely.
So that was the charm and the appeal that drew us here. Yeah.
And Miriam, you've been here for what, 20, 25 years?
Oh, no.
No?
It's going to be 20 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And both of you grew up in states apart from Goa.
Yes, I grew up in Lucknow.
Okay.
I'm from Kerala.
Uh-huh.
And I first came to Goa in 2000 to do an MBA,
Wow.
which is when I met the love of my life,
Uh-huh. And
who I came to join back later in 2004.
Wow. So 2000 is when you originally came out here.
where was GIM then, by the way?
GIM was in Ribandar,
Okay.
housed in the old GMC complex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it must have been a very beautiful campus.
It was a
at that
beautiful setting
Yeah.
with the river, the
Yes.
Mandavi in front of us and Diwar Island across. So there was walks to Diwar, a very romantic setting.
Very,
No wonder you fell in
perfect
love and
for
decided to come and live in Goa.
romance. Yeah.
The
It
architecture of
certainly
that
was.
building
There
is
were
beautiful.
about 13 couples from that.
Oh, really?
Oh wow! Yeah,
Nice.
That
the
is
Goa
nice.
effect. Yeah.
But the building in itself is a heritage building. It's a beautiful setup.
It's lovely.
And the location is so beautiful, I think. Not just for otherwise, for an MBA, this thing. To do an MBA in such a beautiful, you must have had a choice. Was it because of the location that you chose GIMs or any other thing?
Yes, there was a choice.
Yes.
But interestingly, it was my father who made the choice,
Okay.
saying that, oh, this is run by Jesuit priests, so
Okay.
it will be really disciplined and well run.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason I came to GIM versus Manipal.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Interesting. What about...
But of course, the location, I was like, yeah, completely sold on coming to Goa, for sure. And so it was interesting because it housed an old hospital, right?
Yes. I was
so
born
we
there.
had,
Oh,
we
you
were
were
born
born
there,
there?
yeah.
Yes, I was born
So
there.
we had our hostels or our dorms were called OT, Operation Theatre,
Oh, really?
Okay.
morgue, So there was a morgue,
That's
there's
very
OT.
interesting. Yeah.
So who lived in the morgue?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
All the best boys.
Management in the morgue. Yeah.
That's nice. What about you? When did you first come down to Goa?
So I'd been coming on holiday.
Okay.
And interestingly, I mean, I first came, we were doing a road trip to Coorg. So we
Okay.
spent a couple of days en route in Goa.
When was this?
This was, I think, 30 years ago.
Wow. So,
Yeah, yeah.
been quite a lot of time you've been visiting Goa
Yeah.
before you actually came down and started
Before,
living.
yeah.
That's
And
nice.
then my husband has been coming for a long time as for family holidays and stuff. So he used to always describe, Goa used to be like this. We used to have to take a ferry across. There was no bridge. And so listening to all those stories, I wanted to. It was more intriguing and more appealing.
I
yeah.
remember as a child, I lived in Seolim, and every time I came to Goa, I had to go on that ferry because it was an experience.
Yeah.
I said no, I want to go on that ferry. We would cross the other side, and then my father had a friend over there who would give us fresh toddy.
Yeah.
So that was like wow,
Yeah.
But now with the bridges, that's happening less. But we still have ferries, thankfully.
Yeah.
Interesting. Fresh toddy. Anyway, I just wanted to ask, how's it been? How's the experience been? So, coming here for holidays and becoming one with Goa, and you both have assimilated very well. So, I want to understand from you, how's it been living in Goa?
So I would say, Goa is, when I moved here, of course I was in love with the place and everything, but at the time I didn't really know what I would do here because I didn't know so much about whether there was an art scene, what the art scene was. And it took me a little while, but I soon got to know the artists. I met Miriam at a gallery. I did an introduction, like a course a course that was happening at the gallery, Gitanjali. And I met so many creative people immediately and got very sort of entrenched into the art scene. Before I knew it, I was writing about local artists. I was going to their studios. I was discovering more about their work. And so it's been very organic. It was like I was into Goan life before I knew it. And I was meeting local people and becoming better acquainted, learning so much about Goa through the art, about its history, about its heritage, about its culture. So it's like, it's been a very nice journey. And I'd also like to say that, to the person who's visiting, it might be just resorts, or they might think there's nothing to do here, there's no life beyond, But there is a very, very vibrant art scene. And Goa is it's not like a simple village. Even though I live in a village myself, it's a very sophisticated place.
Oh,
That's very true.
It's like we have food from all over the world. We have cutting edge art. We have some lovely galleries. So it's a very interesting environment,
I think Goa has a little of the European charm, the Indian, hospitality or welcoming nature. It is also a melting pot of various cultures, right? Yet, to assimilate in Goa, is what you people have done. So, I think you have said, you're quite Goan now. Quite Goan, well known. People don't treat you as, somebody from out or anywhere else. So, don't you think this has been a very big thing that has made you one with Goa?
Yeah, the
people of
involvement
Goa.
with the community
Yes.
has played a large role in it, and I feel that if one were to visit Goa and miss out on all these beautiful aspects, which is the real Goa, right? It's the people that make the place.
Absolutely.
And if you spend time where the locals spend time, and also spend time with the locals, doing things. There's so many beautiful activities that one can do to, have a small introduction into what Goa and life in Goa really is. There are beautiful walks that one can be part of. You get a complete, introduction to the history of Goa. You walk the by lanes. and you eat where the locals eat.
Mm-hmm.
So these are beautiful ways to discover this land and all that it has to offer, right from art walks to bar hops.
Maybe you could
to
suggest some to the viewers who want to experience the art side of Goa.
Uh-huh.
Maybe both of you could suggest must-do activities in Goa.
Well, I do know of certain groups that conduct walks, and it's not just, I mean, art in the sense of contemporary art. There's so much more, right? It's also the architecture of the place.
Absolutely.
And to get an understanding of what the place is like, one could go for these heritage trails that are there.
think
There's so
something
many.
is there in
There's soul
Fontanache.
traveling. There's make it happen.
Yes.
There's the local beat, and these are all local companies run by local people, and to walk the streets with them, to get an
Yeah.
understanding of Goa and Goans from them is a very special experience. And I don't think. I think it's a lovely way to get
I
to
think
know.
there is that heritage walk that happens in Fontanache, and then there is one which is happening in Saligaon, then one near Old Goa. Then there is that cycle tours that happen recently. They started, which go to Diwar, Sharao. They take you to various places, including some people's houses, give you a local experience.
Yeah.
They are one of the better ways, I think, of exploring Goa than what people traditionally have been doing.
And all this was started actually by the Goa Heritage Action Group.
Superb.
I think many years back, I might be wrong, but in my memory, and I have been here for 20 years now, HETA was used to take people, for a heritage walk of Fontanache.
Yes.
And from there, I think a lot of people have realized that this is a beautiful way to discover Goa. So spawned so many of these, walking tour
Small
companies,
walking tour companies, yes.
cycling, walking, and it's just amazing.
Yeah,
that one
there are a
can
lot
do
of
all
sports
this.
activities also, with sailing, with water. Not that sports ones, but other ones. There is sailing, wind sailing, windsurfing, kayaking happening in the backwaters. I think these are very
Dolphin
activities
watching,
that can be,
boat tours,
they're friendly with the environment, that show you a lot, and
Yeah.
you get to explore the real Goa.
Yeah, and one of the people that I'd like to mention who's doing this really beautifully in terms of exploring the waterways of Goa is Terra Conscious,
Okay.
and they have a very sustainable approach
Superb.
to whether it's kayaking, dolphin watching, because a lot of these water sports are very harmful to the environment.
Of course.
And the boats that are being used are also very harmful.
Jet skis and all these
exactly.
things.
So
Yes.
if one, I think we're all kind of educated people. So if we can move from being tourists to actually travelers, that would
That is
make a
superb.
huge difference to a place that you visit. So
Absolutely.
if you connect with, if just a small read up about the place, and you'll know that there's all these alternative options to the mainstream options that one can take up to explore a place.
Superb.
Samira, I wanted to ask you. So, it looks like you have had experience with art curating in other places apart from Goa. And then you came to Goa, and it is a different environment, it's a different marketplace. Can you elaborate on that, what you have seen in other cities? Because I believe other metro cities have a much larger, maybe audience. How do you compare both?
Well, yes, in a way, since I've been here, I've worked a lot to sort of reach wider audiences for artists in Goa. And I feel there are some fantastic artists in Goa. Like the local art scene is really alive and pulsating and vibrant. They perhaps don't get the hype and attention that people in metros get. They don't get that. They're working with such like original art, and we have a legacy. When I say we, I mean Goa has a legacy of some of the top selling artists are from
Really?
Goa
Yeah.
in India. There's
Yeah,
Guy
can you
Tonbe,
elaborate?
there's Souza,
Souza.
there's Angelo Fonseca, who's not the top selling, but he's
Yes.
a very well recognized artist.
Yes.
So I mean there is a unique legacy of art in any case, which is perhaps not spotlighted enough. like people don't even realize that there's, when you go to Amsterdam, everybody knows who Van Gogh is.
Yeah.
Yes.
People are lining up to go to the museums. People are, shows are sold out. And here, nobody knows who Sousa is, who Gaitonde is.
Very
there
few
is
people
no
know
awareness.
this. Please
that,
tell us a little about that.
There is nothing is taught. There is nowhere to see the works. If you're interested, you go around looking for it.
Yes.
But it's not in the consciousness, that people don't know that all these famous people are from here.
And this could be such a big highlight for even, tourism in this manner.
Of course it could be.
It is such a, like the heritage walks spawned out. I think people like you can play a very good role in doing something about it also.
I think so. I mean, all of us, each one of us that live here, we can easily be cultural ambassadors.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And point people in the right direction.
Yeah.
Picking up from where Samira left, we have amazing talent here, and we have some really, artists that can be called masters, such as Vamona Navelkar, we have Sadhguru Chinvankar. All of these artists, the quality of their work, their entire oeuvre, if one were to really look at it, is nothing less than a Sousa or a Gaitonde or any of the Bombay progressive. But they're not mentioned anywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They just don't get that attention.
They just don't get that attention because I think in most cases, and especially in the case of Vamona Navelkar, the attention is always out of the state for some reason. Most artists are recognized out of the state before their own home state really recognizes them.
Maybe this is the fact.
Yeah. But it's also
And
something that the government
celebrated,
can,
right? Because they achieved so much.
So Goa has got so many celebrated artists, and not just in the art culture, but music-wise also.
Oh, yes.
We don't celebrate them.
Yes.
This is a sad fact. But that is why people like you, when you are cultural ambassadors, you don't have to play it. You have been playing that role for Goa. When you speak, when you talk about this, tells so much to people, conveys that Goa is so much more than what it is. Think that Goa is.
Yeah.
And your experiences in Goa, especially your, Miriam, with the Gitanjali Gallery and being an artist and what you are doing now, and yours, if you can try and, weave something with tourism, the heritage, it is also part of heritage of Goa.
Of course.
Right? And with the Heritage Action Group, I think you connected with it very well. Why don't you guys do something about it also?
Yeah.
Maybe we can curate something in a manner that it is a art tour. And there are people who are in for this.
Privately, I have been taking people on art tours and to artist studios and, through the galleries and shows that are. And everybody who I've taken, even friends of mine, they always say, we never knew this side of Goa. We never knew this existed. And we didn't know the history of Goa. And we wouldn't have known if somebody hadn't showed us or told us, or, So I think it's a very invaluable way of
it is
learning and getting a deeper understanding of the place you're traveling through,
So in fact, Goa Heritage Action Group has just finished a 2-week-long festival of walks, not just in Panjim, but also in South Goa, in the Kotigaon Wildlife Sanctuary. So right across Goa, they've had some beautiful walks with people who are passionate. So these are not experts, but there are some experts, sure, but there are also people who are passionate about these places and know it like the back of their hand. So to get that, that feel from a person, it completely changes how you look at a place and adds a different layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amit, what I have noticed living in Goa, I think Goa is a very, very precious haven for artistic people.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen so many people becoming so. I think it also because of the environment, because of the freedom, because of the environment, because of the air, because of the people. There's so much liberty, you know what I mean? And as an artist, you need that expression, that space. What do you all think? Do you all meet a lot of artists in Goa? Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
The fields we're in, we do. And it really draws creative people like a magnet in a way. because of the spirit of Goa and the Susegaad spirit also, it lets you be and explore who you are and express yourself in ways perhaps that gives you the space that perhaps a city where you have to do these long
Lacks.
commutes and where your daily life is so bogged down that you
Yeah.
don't have the space or the energy left to express yourself.
Absolutely.
I think
in creative
Goa
ways, yeah.
draws people that have finally realized that, that their life is too precious to hide behind a mask, to run a rat race. They just come here to exhale and, to come into themselves.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that is what is drawing so
Well
many
said,
creative
yeah.
people over here. And the beauty of it is that, yes, these people are coming, and there's also collaborations that are happening, and new art that's coming because of these collaborations, new festivals. So there's so many, and residencies, and so many other beautiful, community activities around art which are happening, which travelers can also be a part of when they
I
come
think
in, if
The
it's on the
recent
calendar.
festival that you were mentioning by Goa Heritage Action Group, I think, of course, the people in the art community and people in Goa do know a little bit about it. I don't think it's promoted that well outside of Goa.
Sure.
I think people require to know about these kind of things
Before
more.
they travel,
What a big difference it would make in the kind of people coming here, in the kind of tourism we would have if we have people who are passionate with art, culture, coming in more rather than people coming to rave or do whatever they do in Goa. So
Sunburn.
let's not get there. Seriously, Goa is such a lovely place, such a melting pot of art and culture. I think we have failed to promote that well. Yet people are still coming in for that, and a lot of credit goes to people like you who have been taking this thing on. So I'll just ask you a thing. What have you been doing so that people do understand? We know what with the talk we had with you, but generally people will not know what you have been doing yourself, Miriam. What have you been doing? So please tell us a little bit about your journey in the art and culture.
Yeah, like what is art curation, for example?
Okay, so art curation is when you bring together certain artists and they explore a certain trajectory together.
So a certain topic.
It could be a certain topic, a certain, a certain feeling, a certain movement. It could be any of these things. And the idea of working together, it could also be absolutely unrelated to each other. But often what happens is the curator finds a thread. So curator is like a sutradhar that, who brings these elements together that can bounce off each other and create a new alchemy. So speaking for myself, when I was curating at Gallery Gitanjali, one of the important things for me was to move the art scene from, way back when I started, when I first came in, what I noticed is that everything in Goa was dominated by the season.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like, but we live here all year round, and there is life beyond the season, And for me, I felt that it was not just an exhibition or, that would bring people closer to art. There was so much more that one needed to do to bring to give the community an understanding of art so that it would not be intimidating for them. So, in my run in the gallery, we had several such activities and workshops and programs to make people understand more about art, including art appreciation, art history courses, film appreciation courses, a series, workshops with different artists, so that you can get a glimpse at a person's process, because art is more than what you just see on the wall. It's an artist's lifetime. You know, so when you look at something and you're like, why do you think it's priced like that?
Yeah.
It's because the artist has spent so many years experimenting, so many years thinking and processing. Okay, so it's not just what you see on the wall, but everything the artist has gone through, the process, which is important.
Some of that whole journey.
So that work on the wall is a sum total of that journey.
Interesting.
And so for me, when I would curate these exhibitions, I wanted people to have different layers. How do you encounter a work of art? Is it just something that's on the wall, you go look at and like, oh, pretty colors, interesting forms? Or is it something beyond that? Are there layers that one could explore?
I was just thinking.
So for that, and all of us human beings are a sum total of our experiences. So what you see in a work is, or how you respond to a work, is actually your own experience.
Absolutely.
And what it draws out from you.
Since you're on that topic, I was just thinking, Amit, imagine if since you're in the real estate field, imagine if we had an art appreciation class for all the builders, all the developers in Goa.
I think that is
how much would you think it would change? It'd be crazy, right? It'd be amazing.
Because we need a more aesthetic
Absolutely.
place to live in.
I love that word.
Yes.
And people hate me when I keep
I
on
hate
telling
seeing
this
ugly
to
buildings.
I know the ghettos that some
Yeah.
people created, the
Yes.
ugly boxes.
Yeah.
Even raw concrete has an art form. I had to keep on telling them, boss, learn something about aesthetics. Aesthetics, even in low-cost housing, has to be there.
Exactly.
Because it adds value to life. What you live on a daily basis is life, isn't it?
Yeah, why would you come to Gurgaon and then come here and live in a box again?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
Forget
Absolutely.
Gurgaon.
I
Let's
mean,
talk about the
Bombay,
local.
Gurgaon,
this
all,
thing.
if you have these concrete, and that's exactly what they're coming and doing here again.
Absolutely.
So what is the
Absolutely. Even for the local market, the
Yes.
low-cost housing, there is probably a little cost to aesthetics, but not that heavy a cost that actually it becomes prohibitive to do. A little common sense used. I would rather use the word common sense used.
Yes.
And a little creative thinking, little bit innovative use of greenery.
Yes.
We don't have to destroy the green cover to build a building. Yes, maybe where the building is being built, you require to remove something, but trees take years to plant. Grow. I have seen people look at a thing and say, "Arey yaar, ye ped, ye hata do, pura plot mein se khatam kar do, then we'll build." I say, what rubbish are you trying to do? Some of the developers here have been preservative. I've seen a couple of people trying to keep the tree cover in, but if we have more people preserving trees, building around them, creating aesthetics with color, with the architecture. You were talking of architecture of Goa. People come down for the Fontanage to look at the architecture also. It is so important for having probably, I would suggest the government should have had rather than just planning and technical clearance, there should be a aesthetic clearance also.
Let's have an aesthetic committee
Actually,
with Miriam, with Samira.
And I feel there are, like I said, so many creative, talented people here from the worlds of art, design. Why not have them in committees to give the whole city a...
Absolutely.
We have no dearth of talented and
of
committed
sensible
architects
people.
here.
Yes, there are.
All of which,
They're
and
not
so many
being
who are
called
working.
upon to...
Not only that, artists, use of art, I think people think art is prohibitive, expensive, but even, in your experiences, local art, local artisans, small things, if you just put them in a house in a beautiful manner and give a house out, doesn't it enhance
I think
the
Miriam
value?
has done that. Have you had these... I know there are these experiences where, artists come together, they live together and create things together.
So that's
What are
called
they
a residency.
It's called a residency.
So we have a cashew plantation in Valpoi,
Okay.
and it's called Cajueiro. And in Cajueiro, we've had a couple of art residencies.
Wow.
There's also been a mental health and art residency that has taken place there. And the idea of a residency is that people, when you live together and when you're not in your own silos, working away at your own art and your own process, when there is this intermingling and there's an interaction between the artists, there are certain influences that are seen or certain nuances that come into an artist's work. So I think residencies are great, a way of having this come through. And when you speak of local art in residences, I think that is really important, because we have no dearth of talent. We have so many beautiful artists and works, all of which are springing from this ground. They're rich in the ethos and culture of this land.
Of course.
And to have that on your walls is going to add so much more meaning to those four walls that you have.
Absolutely.
Than just like a random print from somewhere.
Because they have so many stories to tell of Goa.
Samira, what about you? Your experience. Let's hear you.
Now, you had said that even though Goa is even though we live in villages, there's so many rich experiences, people, intellectuals.
And sophistication.
Tell us, sophistication. Tell us about that.
About your experience, about how your journey has been.
Continuing with what she said, or echoing what she said, I also think that, firstly, Goa is also a place of these multiple connections because of its coastline and its history. It's, a lot of things came in from the ocean.
Yeah.
There are so many things which were influenced, the cuisine, the culture, the way people dress, what they eat. So it's curation is sort of when you bring artists together, it's like amplifying, the whole the whole ethos of an exhibition, and you're making these multiple connections between people, and at the end of it, you realize everybody is connected. It's like artists' work, one sort of speaks of another, or amplifies that. And so the whole, the whole landscape of Goa is a very rich and fertile, imaginative ground to draw from. And I've really enjoyed working and curating here, because it's the artists, I wouldn't call them, they're not simpler than their city counterparts, but they're more engaged with their art rather than the whole commercial aspect of it and the whole hustling and networking and that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think we're so blessed to not have to do all that, because it just it means that we can be so much more authentic and
be more ourselves. Yeah.
Be completely coming from our own true selves when we're expressing what we express.
I think art is expression of life and experiences. That is what art is about. And I think what you both are trying to say is Goa has been fortunate to not have that ugly commercial angle destroying the vibrantness that we have out here. The touch with the base, right, with the earth, with ground. You're trying to say that, right?
That's right.
So I'll ask you just a question. Personally, how did you become an artist? How did you come out, Samira, to become into art?
That's a good question.
How was this? How was this metamorphosis? We'll start with you.
So I was always, my parents are big collectors.
Okay.
And I was always, I grew up with exposure to art. There were books in the house. There were, my mom dragged me to every exhibition she went for. And so when I was in college also, I was in college in Bombay, I would go looking, around the city and looking at exhibitions and talking to artists. And I always had that interest in it. And I tried to buy a work of art in college. And then I realized I couldn't afford it, And I thought, where will I keep it? I'll have to keep it under my bed in my hostel room. But so there was always an interest in art. And gradually I started collecting art. And my first job was with an art magazine.
Wow.
It's India's premier art magazine.
What's it called?
Art India.
Art India.
Art India.
Okay.
So while I was working there, I met a lot of artists, and auction houses were coming up in Bombay. And so there was a lot of, it was a very nice, nurturing environment. And then sort of the boom happened in the 90s, and suddenly everybody was buying art and writing about art and wanting to know more about art. So it just sort of, people started asking me to source work for them or to introduce them to artists. And one thing led to another. And it's, I
That's how you
realized
got it.
I wanted to curate myself and put a show together, or artists I wanted to present,
That's
or I
nice.
wanted to discover.
So where was your first show which you curated? Where was it?
First show was like privately, almost at home, I would say.
In
and then I
Mumbai
lived
or in Goa?
in Mumbai.
Okay.
And then I lived in Dubai for a while, so I
Okay.
continued there.
Oh.
And then, of course, here.
In Goa.
So first show in Goa was at Sunapranta, which is
Superb.
yeah,
Superb.
So
which was
you are
which was 11 years ago actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're an independent curator,
Yes.
right? What does that mean?
That means I'm not associated with any particular gallery
Okay.
or any particular group of artists.
Mhm.
I mean, if the project sounds good, I could work with any gallery and sort of conceive and put together a show for them. Or a
Interesting.
hotel space or a institution or, whoever sort of fits in with I mean, it has to be mutually
Yeah, yeah.
rewarding, right, for both of
Yeah.
us. So,
And Miriam, you are a graduate of an MBA, and now you've gotten into art. I think that's a very interesting mix. I've never heard of an artist who is also an MBA graduate. Have you?
I think there have been people
I'm sure there are, but
in
I've
various
Yeah.
fields, not just in art, who have
You
done
see, I think
education
all
in
of
another
us
this thing.
are artists, including you and you. It's just
I don't know about me.
Oh yes, oh totally. I do. I strongly believe that, and I always wanted to be an artist
Really?
as a
Wow.
child. Actually, there were 3 things I wanted to be as a child.
Mm-hmm.
One was I wanted to be an artist.
Okay.
I wanted to be a journalist,
Okay.
and I wanted to be a detective.
Oh, wow.
So what are the boxes you have clicked?
So
ticked?
I
I think she's
All
ticked
three.
all three. Yeah, she has.
This is
100%.
Okay.
This is interesting. Tell us
Because
about this.
Not only are you an artist, you're also an activist and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, but I think her MBA degree has added a lot to her ability to manage people, to manage projects.
Yes.
Like, tell us about that. How did
Yeah.
you? So you studied your. I think you were very. What can I say? Obedient daughter. You said yes to your father's MBA thing, and you did your MBA. Probably you didn't want to. I don't know. But tell us, how did you get into art?
Okay, so like I said, I always wanted to be an artist. So a lot of times, even at GIM, in the guise of taking notes, I'd actually be doodling all the time and drawing caricatures or sketches of the teachers or the dogs that would lie in front of us, Lalu and Cleta, and of my
Nice name.
classmates. Yeah. And it just so happened, I don't believe in coincidences, but coincidentally I ended up coming back to Goa and managing an art gallery and a heritage hotel. And I think that's when I got my feet wet in the art world. Both feet at the same time. So as I said, at that time we started off by doing 1 or 2 exhibitions a year, but the drive or the thirst to make it go beyond just these exhibitions was there, and it was a seed, right? And that grew. So what I'd do is I'd invite artists to have workshops at the gallery, and I would learn. I mean, I'd invite others also to come and learn with the artists. So it was a way of understanding the artist beyond just the works, understanding his process, understanding the medium that he or she had made a part of his life. And in the process of doing these workshops, in the process of like the talks I told you about, art appreciation, art history, and so many art courses that took place at the gallery. It also became a way of getting the community involved in the arts. And for me, it was also important that the arts interact with each other, because I felt that this opening would take place when, say, a performance artist or a poet interacted with a work. So I would often invite people to do that, artists to do that. So we had movement artists, performance artists, poets, writers come in and interact with the work. So you'd have a poem in response to a work, you'd have dances in response to a work, and besides, of course, the workshops. So all of these kind of built into who I am as an artist, because even now I am a strong believer in collaboration and bringing a community together. So in terms of how I do my work now as well, is when I feel strongly about something and I'm working, I kind of open it out to other artists to come and join me, and there is this interaction that take place. There is a alchemy that comes about when other artists join you, and there's a collaboration that takes place. And when all these confluences happen, the work of art that's created is just another creature altogether.
You know, Amit, because she was talking about collaboration, I was just thinking, how can artists and developers, builders collaborate? What do you think?
You're doing something that I don't want to do. Bring in, but actually, the statement that I made is wrong. What I want to do is another thing, but I don't want to do it on this platform, is what I meant. Basically, there is a huge need of people who know what expression is about to collaborate with people who create something which lasts a long time. Houses, homes, real estate. And we had a guest recently, I think you remember, he was talking about the importance of hospitality and realty collaborating together. I think equally among that, there's a very acute need, very acute need of good creative people, creative people. I'm not just calling them artists or something, to collaborate with the real estate field to create value.
And create
rather
beauty,
anything
aesthetics.
else. Aesthetics is something that I keep on cribbing about, and people don't understand what you're talking about. When people who know what creation is, what creation of beauty, something that pleases you, probably, or gives you maybe even a moment of reflection. If you can just do that with some people coming together, I think it will be great. But developers per se, because of commercialization of work, avoid doing it, I think. But now I think there is a time that has come, a moment in Goa's development, wherein there is a very acute need of what kind of development happens in Goa, what kind of, things should going forward, take place in Goa, requires a lot of collaboration of all aspects of the society. And artists and people who curate art, creation, design, I think all of them, along with real estate guys, should come together with hospitality and decide what we want Goa to be in future.
Why I'm thinking about this is because the art community concentrates so much on their creativity that they don't think about the commercial aspect, right? I mean, this is quite, not always possibly, but artists are not known as great business people.
I think in between we lost touch with what nature and the effect of nature, we talk of rainwater harvesting now. In Goa, the way they did those buys, the vows and the old tradition, there was rainwater harvesting 3,000 years back. You see
that's
the
what
villages,
the pois are. The pois in the
vows
village.
and everything in the villages. So the ways
Sorry,
for
what
what
are
to do.
pois? The reason I'm asking these questions is because many of our audience may not be from Goa. So we may know these words, but
So,
thankfully I don't know.
We all, I think, have picked them up over a period of time. But I'll give you a small example. A village like, let's talk of Asagaon. There was that, way for water, rainwater to drain off.
Yeah, those
And
canals.
then there
you
were
said, yeah.
small canals where those streams were formed. They were cleaned and maintained with regularity. Then there were tanks where water used to come and collect. And those were made, of course they were man-made, but they were made in a manner that water would permeate into the ground.
Okay.
Also that would remain there and be used for various purposes, including agriculture and for water, to recharge the wells, to supply water when less water was available. And then there were the ways for it to go drain off into the khazans. So the ground aquifers would fill up. You're not just draining, taking out water, but the water is being preserved, conserved, and precious. Rainwater is precious source of drinking water. So that drinking water doesn't just run off into the sea and become undrinkable for you. Years back, hundreds of years, thousands of years back, these systems were derived. Instead of learning from them, we started ruining them. Why is this nala required? Block it. Let me fill it up and do. So doing that,
also
we have
the
destroyed a lot of
concretization,
things.
right? This is mindless. When you're concretizing these kind of structures, which were earlier made with porous clay, you're not letting it breathe. You're killing an entire ecosystem that is dependent on that. So when you're concretizing the bunds, when you're bringing in rubble, you're bringing in laterite, these are all foreign materials. Earlier, it was a clay from the fields that was taken, mixed with hay, and made into buns.
Really?
Yes.
This
So it was
must
such
have
a
been
beautiful
very
system.
intensive,
It was very labor
labor-intensive.
intensive, but it also meant that the community was acting together. So there was one person in each village who would keep an eye on the buns, and if there was any breach of the buns, within 24 hours the community would gather together and help
Repair
close
it,
or
close
the
it,
breach.
Incredible.
Yeah. And that was how essential it was, because if the saline water was to enter into the fields, that's the end.
Fields are ruined.
Yeah. So our entire system of fish curry, rice, everything was built around this ingenious, system of our Kazan
I would
lands.
never think fish
where,
curry rice.
No, but this is the fact. Now.
Cool.
The rice that we have in Goa.
Yeah.
So ukde, which people call it, basically is indigenous red rice, right? There are various varieties of it, which is unpolished rice, which was taken in, which is very healthy to have. The
In fact,
fish that
about-
we used to get locally here in the
Yeah.
in the rivers, in the what do you call Manshare areas, and in the ocean, or what we had locally, plus the vegetables also grown in them, and it was a healthy way of living. Of course, changes happen. Goa has now become a food capital of literally Asia rather than anything else.
But it's also going back to local,
To local
ingredients,
to
in more
organic
innovative ways,
farming.
and so
We are
it's,
picking up from where we came.
Where we
So
started from,
a
yeah.
lot of this also will come from people who, like you, influence things.
So here's where, this is where our work started. When so there has been the stretch of mangroves, which has been destroyed, and what was once a thriving mangrove patch is now a bed of skeletal trees. And our work was to bring attention, yes, bring awareness, but also to sensitize people to what's happening in their backyards. And what we did was that we came together as a community. We actually made a walkway with bamboo, so one could enter into this site of devastation. Artists could have a space to come and actually mourn, because what's happening is that we have this barrage of devastations that are happening. There are forest fires, there are there's all this news of Madhai waters being diverted. All this is coming onto us. We are hearing it, we are absorbing it, but there is no space to actually express our grief, our frustration, our anger regarding this. So I thought it was important that we have this as a community, an opportunity to actually express what's happening. So we saw this patch and we decided to create this kind of walkway, a spiral that helps you enter into the space and actually feel what has happened in that space. It is a low-lying field. It is also a symbol of all the changes that have happened in Goa. How from mangroves, the Kazan lands were reclaimed. Then when there was a mismanagement, then again the mangroves came and reclaimed this Kazan land. And then again with development, we've had these mangroves being destroyed. So it was just to question what was happening, to sensitize people and to activate the community.
Yeah.
And that is also what happened, because from this, what we've done is that a group of concerned citizens has come together and we formed a Kazan Society of Goa.
That's nice.
So
That's nice.
this society is a body that is, of course, compiling and doing on-ground research, on-ground truthing of the number of barns, the placement of those barns, and the Kazans, and any areas where people are facing threats. The society would go and support the farmers. And this kind of community initiative is really essential, because we are facing these threats as a community. We might not realize it because it's happening in bits and pieces, but it is happening.
It's very
and we need to
important for this
preserve.
to happen.
We need
Yes,
to
I
preserve
understand.
this.
And your artistic interventions are through
Yes.
collective,
Yes.
Earth
Yeah,
West
so-
Collective, right?
That's right. So we have a collective called the Earthivist Collective, which is Artists for Earth.
Earthivists.
Earthivist.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. So the intention of the Earthivist Collective is to create awareness, create sensitization, and also to engage the community through art to understand about the situation and to activate them to
Amazing.
do something.
Amazing.
To bring about a change on ground. So from ground up.
Yeah.
Because unless you and I talk across the table, there is always, interests that are pulling us apart. But when we come together and we understand an
Power of
overview of
conversation.
what's happening,
Yes.
This
Yes.
is the power of conversations.
this
I
is the
think-
power of
Yeah,
conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
So the
it's an
collective-
amazing initiative.
Yeah. Thank
Superb to know that.
Yeah.
More such initiatives should happen, and more power to you, Miriam, for this. Seriously, these are much required initiatives. I think you are also connected with the Save Madhei campaign, right? Something,
Yes.
some initiative on that also you've been taking up.
Yeah. I've actually created a suite of works which are rakhondars. So you might be familiar
Yes, yes.
with this concept of rakhondars
Yes.
in villages in Goa.
Sorry.
They have
what is
Rakhondar-
that?
village deities or
Deities
guardian
or
spirits.
Guardian spirits.
Oh, okay.
Guardian spirits for each village.
Okay.
And
They
before you
protect
enter
them and,
into a
yeah.
village, you go and make a little offering. Usually it can be a little quarter feni, beedies. Some are offered leather chappals. So
very
it's a very
sweet,
sweet interaction that
yeah.
happens.
Bananas, or just some people just
Go and pray.
just
Bow
pray and
down.
bow
For
to
protection.
them
Yeah.
that please
Acknowledge.
keep your protection on me, or something of that kind, or request them that sorry I'm disturbing your way. It was a very traditional form of
Yes.
Yes.
So what
connecting
I've
with
done
Earth.
is that I've created these rakhondars for each of the ecosystems that Madhei nurtures along her journey, right from her source in Karnataka in the Western Ghats, where she is known as Mahadei, which is another name for Mahadevi, Mother Goddess. And from Mahadei, as she enters into Goa, she is known as Madhei, and then Mandavi finally, before she meets the Arabian Sea. Now, what is important for us to know is that the estuary of Mandavi is not just at the Arabian Sea, where Mandavi is, or Madhi is meeting the Arabian Sea, but it's 50 kilometers inland. And the other important factor here is...
So you're saying seawater goes all the way 50 kilometers
Yes,
inland?
it does.
It does.
Wow.
The other important factor here is the Khambarjua Canal. So what is happening here is, because the Khambarjua Canal connects Mandavi to Zuari, what will happen if the headwaters are diverted is that not only will all the villages and talukas that Mandavi flows through, but also the ones that Zuari flows through will get affected. Which means that barring the topmost Perne and the bottommost Kankon, all the talukas of Goa are affected by this. So salination and desertification is a real and imminent danger which would take place if the headland waters were to be diverted. Because what is happening is, it's all a delicate balance of all of these ecosystems.
I don't know, Miriam, whether you're aware of it, but unfortunately it's already diverted. 12 years
yes,
back,
it has. It has been diverted,
when we
but
came
now...
here and tried to educate the politicians of what was happening, sadly, I don't want to say, make a comment, but unfortunately our leadership at that time failed to tackle it in the manner it should have been. The Khalsa water depth is a truth.
Yeah, and yet again, it is now going to take place in a way that we cannot sustain, which is why there is a real danger, because the salination is going to enter our groundwater systems. It's going to affect our drinking water, our wells, our khazans, our water table is going to get affected.
Fresh water pushes out the salination, the salt out is what she's making. I'm talking in common man's terms. And I don't know whether you've noticed this, but since last 3 or 4 years, if you go towards when the rains are a little less, I don't know whether you've noticed Chorla, Anmod, or when you go towards this, the waterfalls are less.
Yes,
you know why this is? Because last 5, 6 years, 7 years, aqueduct is now underground. People don't even know that when you're going from Chorla towards Belgaum, there is a water flow happening, huge water flow happening below your feet. When you're going from, Goa to Belgaum. And this has the water diversion has not happened today. It has been taking place for last 5, 7 years.
It's a multi-decade
15
long
years
fight
back,
which has started many years back. There have been many hearings about this and many different settlements, and then again, which have been challenged. But as of now, again, what is happening is that the quantum of water that is being demanded and which is being approved of is beyond our sustainable limits. So what's going to happen with that is that we will not be able to get the amount of fresh water we need to keep the salination in check.
Yep.
And
so Miriam, I love what you're doing. I've been to your gallery at when the Goa Heritage Festival was happening. Beautiful art, beautiful stills from your documentary film.
Mangrave.
Yes, Mangrave.
Yes.
And I really love how you are using the medium of art to also bring about some recognition for what the issues are. You've used your desire to improve the lives of Goan, especially the environment, using art. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much for both of your time. And we really hope that this medium, this talk show, can affect Goa for a positive change.
And I would just also like to say, both of us are not from Goa. And I think Goa has this effect on some people like us coming in. You become very protective of Goa. You want to keep it, you want to preserve it, you want to nurture it.
Live
you
for
want
a longer
to keep
time
it the way,
yes.
What brought us here in the first place.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. I think this assimilation of people who have come in and enriched Goa, this is what you have done.
And doing so much to
and you are enriching Goa.
I
think this is what is required. Anybody wanting to come here, you were talking of second homes. And I was just telling you before that slowly it is turning towards first home destinations. I would welcome first home people. we have to, as I was saying, required to think of what,
Yes.
what
Because
is
it's not
Goa.
just a place to buy a property and
Yes.
keep it. It's a place to live with,
There is
live in
scope
and
of development,
participate in,
but
and
yet what kind of
experience,
Sustainable development.
Absolutely sustainable development. Low density development might seem more destructive on the face of it. When some people say that low density development but spreading out is more environment friendly. This is what this thing is. If there is one person living in an acre of land, is much better. I'm not talking of farmhouses. Please try to understand what I'm saying. Eco-friendly houses which are more one with nature. I'm not talking of houses built with wood. People think that eco-friendly means it should be wood. It should be less destructive to environment is what eco-friendly is. Sustainable development means leaving back something and trying to preserve for the future generations what you had. And that is what it is. And Miriam, thank you for playing a very active role on it. Art plays a huge role. So I would request both of you to even play higher roles, more roles. And I will also speak with you maybe someday and try to do what he's just suggested, maybe of real estate and this happening together. Trying to educate people like us on what art is, what preservation is, what you can do. Maybe with the Heritage Action Group also we can work out something. We have to educate people about Goa. And this is what this initiative is about. And what you said, power of conversation of people. This is what we wanted. People to converse, to speak, and thoughts to be shared, ideas to be given out, so that something good may come out of it. So thank you both for taking out valuable time. I know that you both are busy. Thanks for coming in. Without even, knowing us personally, you took out so much time. Thank you. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much.
For Goa, you did this is amazing.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Absolutely.
And thank you once again from Amit and myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Susegaad Musings. Stay tuned for the release of the next episode of Susegaad Musings exactly in 1 week. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcasting platform. Watch us on our YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram and Facebook @Susegaad Musings. Susegaad Musings is brought to you by Amit Chopra and me myself, Ryan Lobo. I will see you in the next episode.